Hi, everyone. Welcome to Art and Talk. If you're new to Art and Talk is an online interviewing platform for artists to share their art and their creativity and their passion. On Art and Talk, we're all about meeting artists and being inspired. We're so grateful that you're watching today. If you are an artist or if you know of an artist working in any creative field and they're interested in being interviewed on Art and Talk, then please send an email to viewoftheartist@gmail.com and we'll get back to you with scheduling and information. We're currently filling up our August calendar of artists to bring you new artists to discover, to meet, and to be inspired by. We appreciate your support. Thank you again for watching. I'm Leslie Sue, the host for Art and Talk, and today we have a California-based poet, and we're going to be diving into her journey and also talking about a book where she was a featured poet and also hearing some of her original poetry as well. So thanks again for being with us today. I'd like to welcome our guest poet, Sharon Cunningham. Hi, Sharon, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Oh, well, we're so glad to have you. Welcome to Art and Talk. So, how would you like to open up the show with a little bit of background from you, Sharon, and how you kind of got involved in poetry and writing, and what does all this mean to you?
Well, I have been writing since I was a little girl, and I was not able to pursue it like I am now. I had family and kids and work, and it all just melded together, but it kept me from really delving into the poetry as I would like to. So since I'm retired, I have an opportunity now to pursue it and just immerse myself, and I'm loving it actually.
Mhm. So, you kind of went a traditional route in career and family. And so that didn't really give you much time, so to speak, or opportunity to do your writing and your
Mhm.
poetry. Is that correct?
That's right. That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually kind of had an epiphany, I guess you could say, and I began writing in earnest in 2015. And a lot of my poetry, I love to write about love, and I don't like to write about oh, dark things, negative things. So I usually kind of stay away from that. But and a lot of my poetry is about um, or comes from the feelings of twin flame and spiritualism. And I just don't have the place in my life to discuss that. Nobody can I talk to about that. So I find poetry is an outlet that I can involve myself and immerse myself and speak on the subject, and it feels more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's just what I've been doing.
Right. That's really beautiful. So it sounds like, Sharon, that poetry is this like open portal, this open door to you exploring love, twin flame, your spiritual connection to all that is, and just kind of embracing it and just kind of using the avenue of poetry as a main expression for this.
Yes, right. Also, spirit guides help me. I have a very special spirit guide, and um, I am very happy to have them walk with me and help me. Um, and I was told um, not to, well, not, I was told to just put myself in the location, because we've had many lifetimes, put myself in the location, look around and write what you see and feel.
Mm.
And so that's what I do. And a lot of some poems have been of the past, um, and putting myself in the position of the person that I'm portraying, their feelings that I'm portraying. And it's been fun. I enjoy it, and quite invigorating, actually.
Mhm. Yes, and I'm so glad that you shared that about your spirit guide kind of guiding you with the whole poetry and the process.
Mhm.
Well, I think this would be a great moment for us to just kind of dive in and have you read one of your poems, if you would.
Okay, all right. I've had quite a bit of research that I've been doing on ancestral lines,
Mhm.
and that takes so much time. That takes hours and hours and hours. And after going through this, I think after about a week of doing that, I I realized that our ancestors are part of us, that we are here because of them. And so this poem kind of jumped out, and this is what I wrote uh, after one of those processes of going through the lineage.
Mhm. All
And
right.
this is the poem. It's called Down Through the Winds of Time. I am your mother from long, long ago, hundreds of years before the time you now know. Our lives are so different. Our looks don't compare, but some things are the same. You still breathe the same air. I've birthed a dozen children. Perhaps in your time, there'd be two. Fathers here worked long and hard in an era far different from you. Unbeknownst, we struggled for you, though no way could we foresee that you would one day look back in time, desperate to know about me. I never dreamed I would tell you how I wish I knew of you. Things might have been done differently had I known this love from you. Years, your years will come and quickly pass and unfold in a time brand new. And I will be standing with my newest daughter, always whispering, I love you.
Mm. That's really beautiful, Sharon. And the whole perspective is like kind of stepping out of time and space.
Yeah.
So after this research that you did, Sharon, with ancestral lines and kind of getting some research and a feel into it, and then writing this poem, what do you ascertain? What do you come out of it with? Could you share that with us?
Well, like I said, that we are here because of them, and they never go away. Spirit never goes away. And we can we can feel our spirits, their spirits, if we try. I mean, they're here. They're not gone. They're with us all the time. And it was just a way of saying thank you to my ancestors because I am here.
Mm. So, okay, so I see it's in essence partly a thank you to them, almost like a dedication poem.
Dedication, yes. Uh-huh.
Mhm. And when you are writing this, is this a representative of other areas that you write your poetry in that are based on this ancestral aspect? I know you mentioned that the spiritual domain that you kind of
Mhm.
embrace and entertain within, but is this ancestral aspect represented in some of your other poems?
Oh yeah, I have quite a few like that.
Mhm.
I have another one that I wrote from the American Indian um, that I have in me. It belonged to the from the Monacan tribe in Virginia, and I've written several poems putting myself back in that time frame.
Mhm.
And if you like, I can read another one that I have.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, this one is called "Of Legends Made." I listened as he imparted his harrowing plight. While protecting his family, he grieved he had to take flight. So moving was his story, it brought tears to my eyes. Injustice is horrible, with no answers to wise. I felt I was him as he stumbled along, feeling it had been me who'd been treated so wrong. For many days he suffered, feeling hollow and broken. To have lost his family left him weak and heartbroken. At night, he found shelter where thick bushes would grow, where water once rushed so many years ago. With his days full of danger, Through the night, he still slept. Recalled visions of family was all he had left. But what he didn't know as he slept through the night was his spirit guides had lovingly followed his flight. In their arms it was where he slept so peacefully, and his strength was revived in their sanctuary. With his resolve refreshed, it was at first light. He continued his retreat until relief was in sight. Now huddled in the shelter with his tribe all around, in their memories his story will forever be found.
Wow. So here you have kind of linking in, as you were saying, Sharon, with a Native American ancestry, and you're tapping into what he was experiencing in the
Right.
land with his family. And it sounded the way that you structured it, and some of the words that you used, Sharon, that you were actually being him. In other words, like you kind of merged into this oneness where you were really feeling what he experienced. Is that correct?
Yes, as an observer at some points. Well, I most of the time as an observer, but being him in the feeling the emotions that he felt at the moment.
Mm-hmm. And so in this particular case, kind of getting into the process of it, was it your spirit guide and the the man with the Native American ancestry both communicating with you so you could feel into and understand what he wanted to convey?
Not in this particular poem.
Okay.
There was there was a poem that I wrote.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was in 2015, and I was not quite familiar with this spirit guide, and I knew that I was getting feelings of this person,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't quite know them well enough to, I guess, communicate. So I thought. So I was writing this poem, and I was sitting at the computer, and I had started the first several lines, and I kind of got the feeling that I was nudging somebody, move away, get away. And then the words that were coming were not the words I wanted or I thought I would put in after what I had just put. So it was kind of taking a different turn, and the words were sounding like they would work, but it wasn't what I wanted. And so it was a fight to put down what I really felt I wanted. I got up and I walked away. I told my husband, I'm so frustrated. I feel like I'm being elbowed to do something, to do this. And I thought, well, and I don't really stay mad very long about something. I just thought, well, let me just go with it. I'll go back and I'll just go with the flow. So I went back and I wrote this poem, and it was totally not what I had thought. In fact, in my mind, I said, what do I know about a man's point of view? Per se, I've been man in a different lifetime, I know. But at this point, at writing the poem, I thought, I don't want to write it in the man's tone. It was not supposed, it was a love story. It wasn't going to be that. But I finished the poem and I loved the poem. I loved it more because it was written through him. I was just writing what he wanted me to write. And it's a beautiful poem. And then the following morning, I felt I wanted to write an answer to that poem. So I did. And the answer was from his wife. And his wife is my most prominent spirit guide. She's just beautiful. She's just feisty, and she's just wonderful. And so I wrote this other poem, and so they're companion poems. And that was one time, and I believe they helped me write other times too. But I'm not so familiar, and I'm not feeling it so much. But this one was his poem. This one was her poem. So that's how that one came out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we get a really clear feeling, not only for your writing style and kind of taking us through this whole scenario in both the poems very beautifully, but I do feel the sense with the second one, like you are really like merging, with him and as him and really seeing it through him, and then your story just kind of helps kind of bring it full circle.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like I said, it's a love story, but it wasn't quite the one I thought I was going to write.
Mhm.
But I do love them. I love the poems, and yeah, they're just they're two of my favorite poems. I keep them together because they are together.
Yes. I would love if you would share with us, Sharon, the spirit guide. When did this kind of encounter take place? Has it always been there? How has this relationship evolved? How do you nurture it? Are there any kind of like rituals, so to speak, that you kind of um, are involved with as like before you sit down to actually write a poem? How does all this play out for you?
Um, there's no ritual except that I find that I like to write first thing in the morning, even before I get out of bed. Sometimes during the night, I've awakened and wanted to write things, um, and have. But most of the time, I like to awaken and I feel fresh, and I like to write at that point.
Mhm.
Um, but there's no ritual that I have to feel and to hear them what they have to say, and I'm not really very good at it. I don't. I'm human, and I don't believe that I'm doing and listening and hearing per se. Um, but I know I am. And I, um, as a little girl, my grandfather passed away, and I cried every night. And my parents never knew about that. I cried every night. I was 7 years old when he passed away, and we moved to California when I was 10. So it had been several years that I was mourning his loss. We got to Los Angeles, and there was one point, and I can remember where I was standing in the house, but he said, "Stop crying. You're too old." And so I thought it was a normal thing. I didn't mention it to my parents. I just did what my grandfather said. I stopped crying and went on and got on with life. So that was not anything that I really thought any more about as I grew up. Um, it was normal. It was just what happens, I thought. So my son had a couple of friends that passed away. And this one particular son, a friend of his, was very young when he passed away, almost 18. And he would come to me every morning as I drove to work, because I would pass the cemetery where he was buried, which he's not there, but I'd pass the cemetery every morning. He would be laughing and joyful, and I would speak to him. I'd say, "Good morning, Chad," and I'd go on to work, and this happened all the time until I realized, wait a minute, am I just saying hello to him because I recognize where I am and I'm saying hello? But I don't think so. It doesn't quite feel like that. And I said, well, if this is real, and I made him test it. I said, if this is real, let's try something. Let's try a test. Prove to me that I can hear you. Prove to me that I feel you. So let's think of a word or so that just you and I are familiar with. And taco salad came to my mind because I had never had a taco salad until his mother had made it for us when we visited. So, and it's not something I've ever eaten. I don't eat. I make it at home, but I don't go out and buy it and don't eat it. And every day at work, I'd eat something, but never a taco salad. So I went to work that day, and my friend that I usually go to a lunch with, was out, and I couldn't go to lunch with her. So I sat down and had my lunch, or was having my lunch, and in she walks with her lunch, And I said hello to her. I said, "What did you bring?" And she said, "Taco salad." I almost fell out of my chair, and I could hear him just laughing. He was so excited. And then that was when I realized that it's a feeling. It's not really words that you hear. It's a knowing. And for me, it's kind of like knowing all of it at once, but I have to speak it to say it, and it's slower. And even when I start asking a question, I cannot even finish my question before my answer is there. So it's kind of interesting. And for the second spirit, I made her test it every time. I was like over and over and over, asking, "Okay, that was pretty good. That was pretty right on. Let's do it again." And so I know that she's there all the time because um, it's number 7 is her number. I'll look at the clock and there'll be 7 in the minutes. And I'm thinking of her and I'll look at the clock, there's 7 in the minutes. I wake up in the morning, I think of her, look at the clock, it's 7 in the minutes. So I know she's there and I know she's doing that, and she is just very strong. And she laughed and laughed and laughed because the day that I made her tell me several times that it was her, I had company coming in, and everybody would bring in something, and they brought rosé, they brought roses, they brought some hard liquor, or no, not liquor, hard cider, I guess it was, Rose something or the other, and her name is Rose. So that whole time that it was going on, it was just the funniest thing to her that she kept doing it over and over and over. I said, "Oh, okay, I get it. I get it. I believe." So that's how I just know that, and I just don't disbelieve that it's happening.
So through these experiences, it really helped to open you up. You first had a little bit of like, well, let me check this out. I'm not quite sure. And then through kind of experimenting, so to speak, testing it out, speaking it as you were saying, you had some very clear, defined manifestations from the universe, kind of pulling you in the direction of, yes, this is truly your grandfather. And then in the other situation with, as you were saying, with the 7s, seeing rose in various manifestations of an actual rose or a beverage or something of that nature. And then you're like, okay, I got it.
Right. And I didn't know these people. I mean, Rose, I didn't know her. I don't know her as she was here, but I know her how she was here. And it's been validated because I told the person that it was their mother, and I told them she's feisty. She just laughs all the time. And they said, yes, that's exactly her. And they told me when I was describing my feelings about what I was getting about this person, they validated that this was that person, as well as the person that was elbowing me. They validated that was their father. So it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And I'm so glad that you shared this aspect of your poetry and your connection. We still have a few more minutes. Sharon, what have we not touched upon in your poetry or your poetic journey that you'd like to share with us before we wrap up the show for today?
Well, like I said, I love to write about love, and a lot of my poems about love. And also I have some poems about traveling through the universe, being in different places in the universe. And those are not exactly easy to write, and they're not exactly popular because most people don't think in those terms. So I stick to writing feelings about how somebody might feel, male or female, how they might feel, and I put it into a poem, and they paint their own picture. They see what they want to see from that poem. And that's another way that I write.
So you really feel into the other people that you are actually writing about. It's like
Yes.
there's you,
Yeah,
but then
absolutely.
that's interesting. And then you kind of expand out to get into the feeling of them, and it's all under the umbrella, so to speak, of love as your
Right.
subject
Yes.
matter.
We've lived so many lifetimes that we just have to draw information from that. And it's easy to write like that because of that wealth that we have. We've, we've all been male, we've all been female in many different lifetimes. And a lot of things we bring to this lifetime, we don't really know why we like it, or why we're good at it, but we bring that information from past lifetimes, and
Mhm.
we have them to use in this lifetime if we want to. We don't have to. We don't have to. I mean, we can have a love for music, but we may not expound music during our lifetime, but we just love it. So you can use it or not. And I think that's pretty much what I like to do, is use what I know, what I
Mhm.
feel.
Yes, yes. Yeah, you explained that very well. Thank you, Sharon. Now, do you have any plans? I know you have, you were featured in a book
Mhm.
called the Where the Mind Dwells.
Right.
If you could just touch upon that, and then also, do you have any aspirations for a full book of Sharon Cunningham, or what's going on with that?
Yes, it's kind of funny. I sent that poem in, and it was just a poem, not my favorite, just a poem. And I sent it in, and I was surprised that it was put into their publication. And I thought, oh, I should have sent a better one in. But it's okay. But I plan to do a book, a collection of poetry. I have two separate books in mind, actually, and the names of them and the contents. I just have to get it into a book format to publish it. And that's the where I am now.
Mhm.
Just waiting to do that. I've got to get a cover, and I don't know who can do the cover, and I'm thinking about the pages, how they're going to look, and I have to work at that. That's not quite set yet.
Right, right. It's quite a process to kind of
Yeah.
think through all those aspects before you actually get, to the point where it's going to be published.
Yes, yes.
Sharon, we do need to wrap the show up. How would you like to close out the show? We always offer our guests the opportunity to provide the closing comments, so we'll leave that to you.
Well, I do have one last poem if you'd like. I would like to read, and it's about love. It's called My Love for You. And it says, my love for you sees you, but does not judge you. It matters not what the exterior displays, for it's the essence of the spirit that captivates my vision. My love for you dreams, but does not expect. I don't expect you to promise what you cannot deliver. My love for you embraces you, but will never crush you. I only desire to support you, respect you, and encourage you to always be true to yourself when doubt punctures your resolve. My love for you will let you go rather than suppress or question your need to grow. I will never abandon you for recognizing your need to place separation between one thing over another, even if it is over me. My love for you will never cease, for we were created in everlasting purity, created to cycle through eternity, through together in harmonious expressions of that pure love.
Mhm. Thank you so much, Sharon. I love how you focus on love. You focus on spirituality, a feeling of oneness, and getting into a feeling of others, and kind of expanding on that, and tapping into to all these areas that you've expressed. We wish you much success with the books. It will be out when they are, and we'll be interested to find out more about that. And thank you for sharing your poetic
Thank you.
journey.
Thank you
Um,
for having me.
oh, absolutely. Thank you for being on Art and Talk. Before we close out, Sharon, are there any social media connections so people can stay connected with you that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I'm just on Facebook and under Sharon Cunningham, and that's about it. I don't really go into the social media. I don't have a website. Um, I've just been writing and storing my poetry, and I just didn't want to get involved in too much social media applications. And so that's it. That's all I have.
Mhm. Well, we'll be excited to be able to venture out into more of your poetry when you feel like it's the right moment, whether it's through your books or any other avenue that you create. Thank you so much, Sharon, for being our guest on Art and Talk today.
Thank you. It's been fun.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching Art and Talk. We appreciate the time you take to watch our art videos. And please stay connected with us on our YouTube channel, on Facebook, and on Twitter. And we'll talk soon on the next Art and Talk. Until then, be well and be blessed.